What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to 8 Count. I hope you're having a brilliant day, no matter what day it is. I'm recording this on a Monday. You could be watching this on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm starting to sound like a Craig David song, so I better stop. But anyway, today I'm going to be giving you my thoughts and reactions and just sort of takeaways from this UFC 273 card. I'm going to be focusing in on the Khamzat Chimaev versus Gilbert Burns fight, the Petr Yan versus Aljamain Sterling fight, and the Alexander Volkanovski versus the Korean Zombie fight. But before we get into the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be bringing content out very regularly on this channel, focusing around the brilliant world of combat sports, and you're not going to want to miss it, so be sure to subscribe. Anyway, let's get straight into this video. Right, what a fight we had on our hands between Gilbert Burns and Khamzat Chimaev. Obviously, coming into this fight, I think it was kind of like both sides had it. I think Gilbert Burns was criminally underrated, especially from the matchmakers, and I think it kind of gave fans that kind of feeling like, oh, what do they know? And I think a lot of fans kind of went with that, and it was so unjustified in the end. And you know, coming into it, I did think, you know, this is kind of like insane how, you know, the odds were on him. And I even sent my mate a message tonight of the fight. He asked me about Chimaev, and I said, if you're going to put a bet on, put on Gilbert Burns. The odds are crazy against him, and he's world class. We know what he is. Whereas Khamzat, we didn't really know. Anyway, we found out quite a lot about Khamzat, and I think quite a lot of people were upset. I don't know why necessarily. I think maybe they had unrealistic expectations coming into the fight. Obviously, we knew that he was a very dominant fighter. Coming into the fight, he'd never been out of the second round. He'd only been hit twice in the UFC. And we saw him get hit a whole lot of times in this fight, 141 to be precise. I felt that you know, it's something which I'm kind of confused by. Like, I don't understand why people are kind of going, oh, he's not this good and this and that. I mean, for me, it was a brilliant fight, and it showed how good Khamzat can actually be. I think, you know, towards the end of the fight, he started losing. And, well, to be fair, it's probably around the second round, he started to lose that game plan. You know, started to go away from some of his strengths and probably gave Gilbert an even bigger chance. But anyway, let me get into it. I felt that Khamzat showed us a lot of strengths which he had, which we probably previously didn't know about, especially the switch stance. I thought he was brilliant from there. I felt like it was a great chance for him to get out the way of the overhand of Gilbert Burns, which he was, you know, targeting often. I think that, you know, he was looking good from either stance early on, especially using those sort of straight techniques, whether that be the jab, the straight, or the teep kick up the middle. I think to start the fight, he kind of came out of those teep kicks, and he just instantly pushed back Gilbert Burns onto the fence, and he shot him for a takedown. I mean, what else did we learn about him? We learned that his takedown defense is out of this world. Did you see the takedown attempt? I think it was in round 2 or 3 from Gilbert Burns. He was in so deep, and it looked like Khamzat had no problem, you know, getting out of it. Brilliant from Khamzat. You know, and we also learned that he has got a fucking killer chin. Probably because he's probably never been hit before. But no, man, this guy's chin was outstanding. You know, I think people are like, oh, he got dropped, that's a bad thing. Yes, it is a bad thing. He was reckless and probably a bit arrogant in the fact that he's like, brother, this easy fight, you know, I smash him. But it wasn't the case, and he got caught and he was sloppy. But the fact that he was able to find out probably about himself, he probably didn't know he had a chin like that. You know, you don't find out until you're put into a situation where you have to find out. Many of the men would have been knocked out by that, especially in the UFC welterweight division. I don't think there's too many who could have withstood that sort of punishment he took towards the end of the second round. You know, I think coming into the fight, a lot of people thought that there's a chance that it could go either way. Khamzat could be very aggressive looking for the takedown, or he could just not look for it at all. I don't think that was really the case. I think he probably looked to kind of shied away from the takedown because of how hard Gilbert Burns made it, especially in that first round. He got the takedown along the fence line, which was a position I thought he could have tremendous success against Gilbert Burns. Obviously, Gilbert Burns is a brilliant jiu-jitsu player, multiple-time world champion in BJJ. But I felt like if he could get him up against the fence line, take away his base, and put Gilbert in a position where, you know, it's not used in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu up against the fence like that, I thought he could have a tremendous chance of maybe even getting a TKO. It didn't happen. He was great at defending it, Gilbert Burns, very strong. It was brilliant by him, to be fair. Something else which happened in the fight, he did get a takedown when he was rocked. He got dropped by Gilbert in the second round, where it was more like Gilbert hit him with that clean shot, which I said about, but it almost knocked him back like an owl. He was looking the opposite direction with his head turned all the way around, and it was the other right hand, which it didn't connect flush like the other shot. It was kind of like maybe the wrist or something caught Khamzat on the neck or something like that, and it kind of just pushed him down. But as soon as that happened, you saw him shooting on the takedown, and then the bell went and he hung on to Gilbert, and then Gilbert pushed him off, and then I think Khamzat went to punch Gilbert but ended up hitting the referee, which was rather amusing. Anyway, like I said, in that third round it was close. The only reason I gave Khamzat the third round, because it was very close. I don't know if I said it or not in this video, but I watched this fight live, and then I think I watched it a couple of times since. I watched one with my dad, because my dad likes to catch up on the fight sometimes, so I was watching it with him. And my dad said that Gilbert won the third round in his opinion, and I was like, no, I don't think so. I felt like Khamzat took it, despite the round being very close, and maybe even Gilbert landing more shots. I felt like there was a moment in that round which kind of showed dominance from Khamzat Chimaev. I think he might have really hurt Gilbert, but it was a shot, and I don't know which one it is. Maybe it was a jab, or maybe it was a glance in sort of straight, but it wasn't like really obvious. And we saw Gilbert he didn't look right on his feet, and he kind of went back towards the fence line, and he kind of shelled up, and Khamzat was able to unload on him, and that was a moment where I was like, that stuck with me. And you know, the rest of the round was quite close, so therefore I gave it to Khamzat. Like I said, people had unrealistic expectations, maybe, and a bit disappointed, but I don't think this fight is anything to be disappointed with. It's you know, a lot of learning lessons for Khamzat, and I'm very interested to see what could happen in the future with both of these fighters, to be fair. I think Gilbert now, you know, he was coming in at the number 2 rank. I think you could probably see him maybe 3, 4. Maybe Khamzat moves up to 3, and who knows. But anyway, Khamzat cannot fight the champ right now. The champ is going to be fighting Leon Edwards coming up in International Fight Week, I think. They're talking about Khamzat versus Kobe. I love this fight for Khamzat. Yes, Kobe has a really high output, but I don't think he has the shots to really hurt Gilbert Burns. No, to hurt Khamzat Chimaev like Gilbert Burns did. Obviously, I think Gilbert Burns is probably one of the more heavy-handed strikers in this division. And despite that big shot in the second round, it wasn't like Gilbert Burns had him really rocked in any other moment of the fight. I don't think Kobe's going to be able to do that. I think if you look at the fight between Gilbert and Khamzat, you saw that brilliant takedown the defense. I'm not sure if Kobe's going to be able to get a takedown on him. I think he might be able to chain wrestle and maybe push him up against the fence, but I don't think he'll be able to just flat out take him down. I think Khamzat is the much bigger and stronger of the two, and I think he's dangerous on the feet. It might be a similar sort of fight between him and Kamaru. But yeah, really interested in that fight. And I think this fight, despite losing, Gilbert Burns got a lot of fan sort of interest going now, and I think his next fight could be massive as well. So I really look forward to that. But anyway, let's move on to the next fight. Aljamain Sterling against Petr Yan. Sorry, as I have a drink. Yeah, this was a great fight. Obviously, it comes down to really how you score round 1. There's a bit of debate about round 2 as well, in whether it is a 10-8 for Sterling or a 10-9. For me, it's a 10-9 all day. You know, the striking prior to the takedown in round 2 wasn't really significant or dominant by one of the guys. Like, let's say Sterling was dominant on the feet and he caught Yan, then you could be looking at a 10-8 after that, but it didn't happen. And Jan it was very level on the feet. But Sterling did get the takedown at 3:51 of the second round, which meant he had 3 minutes and 51 seconds of control time. I felt like he did a great job to hold the position. And, you know, he did land some good strikes, but he wasn't dominant, and he didn't have that sort of effect where he was pounding Petr Yan, really damaging him. Therefore, I didn't give it a 10-8. And also, I felt like the fact that when he was on the back, he was looking to hold position. I think from him, it was probably thinking that, you know, if he doesn't get the takedown, submission, he gets the round. So, I think you saw that in round 2 and 3. I would have liked to have seen him let go of the body triangle, maybe just keep the hooks, maybe look to peel off one of the arms of Petr Yan so he could go, because Petr Yan was looking to go 2-on-1 or just 1-on-1 with the arms. I would have liked to have seen him use, you know, one of the legs to sort of scrape one off and try and get that choke a bit closer. There was one moment, I think it was in round 3, when it was brilliant from Sterling. I think Yan had wrist control, and he kind of pulled it behind his back and pulled his back onto the floor and then brought his arm around. That was a real clever piece of grappling from Aljamain Sterling. But yeah, like I said, not a 10-8, just 10-9 for me. Round 1, it's tight. It's real close, don't get me wrong. And there's a lot of debate. And this round determines the fight, because round 2 and 3, clearly Sterling. For me, clearly 10-9. Round 5 and 4, clearly Yan. Both 10-9, but round 1 is the one which matters the most because of how tight it was. For me, after multiple viewings, I just thought that Aljo, despite being on the back foot, was landing and throwing the more volume of strikes compared to Petr Yan. You know, I don't think they was the most powerful shots or anything like that, but I felt he outlanded him clearly on the feet. You know, with the more scoring shots. I felt that Yan, despite, you know, stalking Sterling, just looked to be loading up a lot. And he wasn't like, I see Yan as someone who's such a kind of like flow state sort of striker, where he's letting things go without thinking and they're just landing. Not every shot's going to be hard, but every shot is landing and having an effect on his opponent, and it just did not happen for him in that first round. He looked, like I said, he was loading up, and it wasn't the normal Yan we're used to seeing. You know, so for me, I had it as 48-47 Aljamain Sterling. I think a lot of people are mad about this result, and I'm not sure if it's because of they're mad at, you know, the scoring of the fight, how they scored the first round for Sterling. Personally, I don't see, like, obviously it's close and you could score it for Yan, but I don't see how you do that. So therefore, I don't understand how you could be upset with them giving a decision to Sterling. I think what is the case is that it's one of two things: whether people really just dislike Sterling for the events of the first fight, meaning that they cannot credit him, or they do not want to listen to reason. Maybe that's the reason why they didn't like the decision. It's either that, or for me, I think you're just upset with the decision itself because of the scoring system. I think the scoring system probably is outdated, and if I was to give you another option of a scoring system, you could clearly score this fight for Petr Yan. If I said score the fight as a whole, I think you give this one to Petr Yan, not necessarily because he did the late work, because of the fact that he did the more damaging work. And you know, you can see the numbers to my, well, it's to my right, but obviously I have to point my left hand, so I look like I'm pointing off screen, so it's this way. But yeah, you know, Aljamain Sterling, he scored, you know, he scored the 2 takedowns. He had a great control time, but other than that, on the feet, you know, he was scoring shots, like I said, but Yan was scoring the power shots. You know, for me, looking back on the fight, I think it wasn't the best performance from Yan. I think even with the takedowns, there was a case for him maybe taking his time a bit more. I think that he rushed and gave up the back. just like he kind of did in this fight. I felt like he was rushing a lot of his work. I think in other fights you see him take his time a lot more, and then as the fight goes on, the pressure knocks up, and that really wasn't really that well. It just wasn't the case in this fight. I think at the end of the day, you got to say fair play to Aljamain Sterling. He is your rightful champion in this fight, and it sets up a sort of a weird one. He's saying he's going to go on vacation for a month, which shouldn't be major. I'm sure we'll see him fight maybe one more time this year. And it's going to be who it's against. For me, they're talking about the TJ Dillashaw fight. Personally, I do not like that fight. Just for the reasons I felt like, Dillashaw didn't win the fight against Sandhagen. Didn't hold anything against Dillashaw for cheating or whatever. I honestly do not care. I'm just saying that for me, I don't understand how you can come off that fight with Sandhagen and go straight to a title shot. I know that he is the former champion and his name holds a lot of value in this division. I just don't see it personally. And the matchup for me as well just isn't as exciting as, like, if Jan would have won the fight and they would have done Jan Dillashaw, I probably would have been all over it because I think the stylistic matchup is great. I'm not sure where I'd lean in the TJ fight. I'd probably lean towards him against Aljamain Sterling, but it's not a fight that I'm like really itching to see. Whereas Jan versus Dillashaw, on the other hand, is a much better stylistic matchup, in my opinion. I think the Jan trilogy is there for Aljamain Sterling. I don't think he'll take it. I don't think he'll go anywhere near it at the moment. I'm sure he's going to say that Jan's going to have to earn his way back to the title, which is, I mean, is it fair? I'm not too sure. He was clearly winning that first fight, and it was a terrible mistake from him, and he threw away the bout by doing that. But I would like to see a third fight. I really would. I think that it was an off night for Jan, and it was a great night for Sterling. But I mean, the third fight, man, I'm still really down to see it. And I favour Petr Yan. I think he is really the better fighter of the two overall. I think striking is no comparison. Yes, Sterling has great techniques, which he uses to his advantage because of his frame as well, especially with some of those kicking techniques. I think in my prediction I did go with Petr Yan, but I thought Sterling could have used certain techniques to really control the distance of the fight and maybe dictate the way it swung. It didn't go quite that way. He did look a lot for the roundhouses. I thought he could have looked for those jumping side kicks to the leg. Petr Yan was doing that though, I did notice. But yeah, great fight all in all. And we're going to have to wait and see what happens next for the champ. I'm hoping for the third fight with Jan. I doubt we'll see it though. So probably get the Dillashaw fight, which is still a great fight. So we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, let's move on to the fight between Volkanovski and the Korean Zombie. This was a hard watch for me now. I like a lot of, fights, and there's been fights where there's been beatings and I haven't really sort of felt anything. In this one I felt sad and I felt it was an unnecessary fight. Obviously coming into the fight I felt that Chan Sung Young had a very limited chance to win it. I thought he would have to probably drop Volkanovski and maybe catch him in some sort of Darce choke or get onto the back of Volk, and maybe, I didn't think the twister was coming out, but I thought he could maybe catch him in something. But like I said, it was really hard to watch. Volkanovski, the champion, was so clear on the feet. His offensive wrestling was great as well. His timing, his speed was out of this world. And for me, I like the way he goes about it. He doesn't use the flashiest techniques, but he uses simple techniques with different setups. Like the way he was using the inside low kick off the lead leg sometimes to really open up the Korean Zombie. I thought that was really good. And I think the damage taken from the Korean Zombie was really unnecessary as well. I think that when watching the fight, I thought after the second round, I think you didn't have to send him out. Obviously, it sounds really soon because I guess it's only 2 rounds, but that's 10 minutes. And I felt like he'd taken enough and he'd shown what he was capable of. You know, the fight definitely should have been stopped after the third. It was obvious that all he had in this fight was a puncher's chance, and I think if you're fighting someone with the quality that Alexander Volkanovski has, a puncher's chance just isn't good enough. You're not going to find the chance. He's too professional. He isn't getting dragged away from his game plan like Khamzat sort of did in the fight. You know, Khamzat was getting sloppy and he was going away from the game plan, and I think you saw that Volk stuck to it. He didn't need to go and chase the finish because the finish was going to come to him because of how much better he was than the Korean Zombie. I felt sad for the Korean Zombie, especially in that post-fight speech. Obviously, it was sad enough, but then I heard online that apparently it's not even all that he said. Apparently the translator missed out the fact that, you know, he said on the mic that, you know, I know now that I will never be champ, and that was kind of sad for me. I mean, in future, I think it was just a really sad one for me. Oops, I've clicked on UFC Fight Pass. Right, but yeah, anyway, I just felt like Volkanovski in this fight was tremendous. The champ held the bout. He has a pound for pound claim now. Is he the pound for pound king? In my opinion, this performance shouldn't jump him up for the pound for pound king. I think that he was, how would you say it? He was very dominant in this fight, but this match was a mismatch, 100%. I think that, you know, if he was able to have a couple more fights and he was as dominant, then most definitely. Is he up there as one of the most special, one of the best pound for pound fighters in MMA at this moment in time? 100%. I think, you know, there's only one thing left for him in this moment in time. I think if things would have gone differently, there would have been a couple more things, but obviously it didn't happen that way. I'm talking about things like if Giga Chikadze was able to get the win over, what's his name? Fucking gone blank. I can see his thing. Calvin Kattar. Then we could have been looking at that matchup. We could have maybe been looking at Zabit coming in if he would have come back and already had a couple of fights, and that could have been interesting. There's only one thing left for him now at 145 pounds, and that's the trilogy with Max. I definitely give him the advantage going into the fight, despite, in my opinion, him losing the second fight. I scored the first one in favour of Volkanovski very clearly. I thought the second one was close, but I felt Max had done enough to win it, and I definitely still give him the advantage going into that fight. We're going to have to wait and see. It's definitely going to be an interesting one nevertheless. Anyway, guys, let me know down in the comments down below how you scored the Aljo Yarn match and the Khamzat versus Burns fight. I'm very interested. Please leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, you know, what I've been talking about. You know, respect to the man, the Korean Zombie. Whatever's next for him, I hope it goes well. And like I said at the start of the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. Anyway, until next time, I'll see you. Ciao.